welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another broadcast of Jerusalem's Gate. I pray everybody's doing well out there. Got something I just wanted to touch base with you on. With the covert operation that happened a couple of months ago, 3 months ago, 2.5 months ago, where Israel raided a facility, an Iran facility, and obtained very important information about their nuclear activity. I got two videos I want to show you, and this is my personal opinion. I'm a true believer that everybody has a right to voice their opinion, and I believe even under the Iran nuclear deal, Iran was still developing their ICBMs and their ballistic missiles, and they were still keeping or maintaining the ability to make the elements known to build nuclear weapons. And all that came out of that nuclear deal was cargo planes of cash that they received, and we'll never see a penny of that money back. I wonder where all that money went. Don't you kind of wonder where the cargo planes full of cash went that was given to Iran by the United States? It was a bad deal from the beginning, and I'm not knocking any president. I'm a true believer that you respect the commander-in-chief that you have, but everybody has a right to like and support the president that they believe is for their for the betterment of on their opinion for our country. And I supported President Trump, and I've been outspoken about that. I support President Trump. I think he was exactly what our country needed at the particular time, and I pray he wins a second term. He's probably the most persecuted president that we ever had in the history of the United States. So they love to go after him and his family for just the strangest things they go after him on. But the Iran deal, Iran was still keeping the ability to obtain the material used in building nuclear weapons, and that was proved by the information that Israel got from their raid on an Iranian facility. And it's absolutely amazing. Will Iran get nuclear weapons? Iran probably will get nuclear weapons, but guess what? I believe Iran would eventually get nuclear weapons under the Iran nuclear deal. But I got two videos to show you here. They talk much about the Iran nuclear deal and how it's pretty much falling apart without the U.S. Involvement in it. And Iran has sworn for the destruction of Israel, which is absolutely act of war in itself. They repeated numerous times over the years that they want to destroy Israel, and if they had the ability, they would do so. So Israel has a vested interest in what Iran builds and how close they get to the Syria-Israel border. But got a couple of videos here. I pray everybody's doing well. You've definitely been on my mind. I've been real selective on what videos to put out. If I feel that there's no good content to put out, I just won't put out a video just to put out a video. With that being said, I pray for each and every one of you. God bless you. And here comes the videos.
Well, Iran has warned that it may soon exit the nuclear deal that is known as the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. We're hearing from the Iranian Deputy Foreign Minister, who says it is clear that the future of the deal now hangs in the balance.
I told the conference today that the JCPOA is in the intensive care unit because it has lost its balance as a result of the U.S. withdrawal from the deal.
The Iranian Deputy Foreign Minister was speaking to the press in Vienna, where the remaining signatories are meeting to try and salvage what at the time was termed a landmark agreement. But what we are hearing from Tehran is they're insisting on some kind of assurances from those remaining signatories, and the most notable among them being Europe, that there will be amendments put in place to offset the negative impact of Washington withdrawing. It was back in May that the American President Donald Trump decided to ditch the deal. It's a deal deal that was several years in the making. It was a deal that Trump has called the worst deal, or one of the worst deals, that America has ever signed off on. And since his election campaign, he promised that he was going to withdraw from the deal. Not only has he withdrawn from it, but he's also announced that he's reimposing sanctions against Iran, and at the same time has vowed to come down even harder on the Islamic Republic. And this is despite the fact that there are warnings that doing so could have dire consequences. Now, since then, Europe has been scrambling and trying hard to convince the Iranians that they remain committed to the deal. But what we're certainly hearing from Tehran is skepticism as to whether or not Europe can offer something of real interest. And what this essentially means is that the prospect of Iran withdrawing from the nuclear agreement is becoming ever and ever more imminent.
Last hour, I got reaction from political communication professor Fawaz Izadi at Tehran University, who says there could be very serious repercussions if the deal is completely abandoned.
It may actually lead to a war. That's why both Iran and Europe are interested to saving the agreement. But if the agreement is finished totally after U.S. withdrawal, then the conflicts that we already have in the Middle East are going to increase. And I think the reason Iran's deputy foreign minister talked about JCPOA, the nuclear agreement, being under the intensive care is basically an attempt to push Europe to actually work harder to make sure that Iran is able to stay. What Iran has been saying is that you can have sanctions or you can have Iran's nuclear program limitations, but you cannot have both. You cannot have Iran limiting its nuclear program and have the sanctions at the same time. You cannot have your cake and eat it too. That's basically Iran's argument, and people in Iran hoping that Europe will actually do what they need to do.
The backdrop to this week's Iran forum was the withdrawal by the United States from the so-called JCPOA nuclear deal and their subsequent reimposition of sanctions on Iran. That's made it harder for Iran to conduct business outside their country, and the deal may well collapse if a way is not found to retain Iran's commercial ties to the outside world despite US sanctions.
This time it's a bit difficult to be very optimistic because time is of the essence and time is running out. Iran has some strategic patience, but again, the balance of JCPOA has now been destroyed. Those who think that this is an important agreement, which it is, need to remedy this imbalance now.
But the organizer of the Iran Forum believes new technology can be harnessed to maintain Iran's commercial relationships with the outside world, circumventing US restrictions.
In knowledge and in technology, there are many ways to really remove all these borders and sanctions, because the relationship and cooperation is through web, is through technology, and it is not through conventional ways to which requires physical transfer of things from one place to the other place.
If the diplomatic and business figures gathered here in Brussels can rise to the challenge, they may be able to preserve peace and security.